We're back at Hammond Manor for day 14. This is another one where everything's pretty much the same, whichever route you're on, so I'm not going to be repeating myself. We're just going to carry on with this is actually Dean's route, but as I say, it pretty much covers everything, every route, so you're not missing out on this if I don't do the others. But of course you can always go and play it yourself and you get all the routes then, not just the ones I'm doing. It's really worthwhile doing that. But let's just get this started. If I had to describe it, it felt like falling. Not through air or through water, but something in between. Maybe like jelly? And Hoyt said, "Why the long face? Priceless, right?" What? My hands scrambled over my front, my breathing picking up. Where was I? What happened? You know, 'cause he was a horse. No, not that. I mean, because horses have long faces. No, Dad, stop. What did I do? I thought you'd like that joke. I was in the woods. Right, and Jack was there. Yeah. And what else, Dave? Dad, what? Where are we? Well, you know me, always getting lost. I started to back away, but my feet felt like they were encased in cement. Not only that, but each step felt as though I wasn't really touching the ground, slipping somehow. You never get lost. Don't I? Well, guess there goes that cover. He began to convulse, body rising, arms moving in the natural angles until he fell still. You! Hello, Dave! Shall we pick up where we left off? I started pulling my ears, feeling sick. I could feel my heart rate pick up, although something was wrong. It felt numb somehow, like he wanted to beat faster, but something was stopping it. What I did know, though, was that it hurt. Leave me alone. I'm not going to run this time. Think Vincent's going to come save you? This isn't real. I made it back. Did you? If you wanted to die before, why not now? A wave of guilt washed over me when I couldn't think of an answer. Jack approached, the knife almost disappearing from his hand as he approached. First the cliff by the road, then the river. Maybe you stuck around because you hoped something bad would happen. No, I just thought... Well, that some loose in the woods actually needed your help? Well, yeah, I can be plenty helpful. Like your dad? Oh yeah, real helpful like your dead dad, Dave. I looked around. I was sitting on the sofa while Jack looked around the room as if he knew the place. Be honest with yourself, Dave. Your dad was the hero, the police officer. Your mother an accomplished surgeon, but you, a child. I'm more than that, aren't I? Are you? Compared to your friends, you're nothing special. Even Tyson has more going for him and he dropped out of school. I've got to be. And what if you can't? What if I can't? Maybe you're better off dead. Yeah. Maybe I'm better off dead. That's it, Dave. It'll all be over soon. I lifted my head to look at him and he approached me with that knife. I was frozen to the spot and I could feel something prickling at my neck. It felt so natural, my breath picking up along with it, my heartbeat, all as I closed my eyes and waited for Jack to do what he almost did in the forest. Some part deep down expected a gunshot. I knew it wouldn't come. Just give up, Dave. Let whatever happens, happen. I sat up suddenly in bed. My hand went to my chest and I was already breathing hard. I felt hot and what I hoped was just sweaty as my eyes darted about the room. Where was I? What happened? What time was it? My mind was still racing with what happened in the forest, how I'd gotten back, if barely, and what would have happened if I'd been only a little slower. I gulped, hand going to my neck right where I could still feel the ready edge of Jack's knife threatening my throat. As my fingers tightened around my neck, I wheezed in panic for what I'd only just avoided. Everything I'd just seen was a dream, or at least I hoped so. Struggling to piece together what had happened to end up in my room, the door opened. Roswell kept his eyes averted as he closed the door, as far as resting his head on it before talking to me. Oh, thank God you're alive. He sighed, turning to me and making his way over. Well, I kind of hope you'll still be sleeping because, well, this is going to be hard to ask. I shifted over, he could sit down on the bed, but even then he didn't take up that much room. How are you holding up? Did, Roswell scratched his head, fiddling with his hands as he tried to figure out what to say. Well, I suppose I should start with, you're safe, I guess? Well, not that we found that rabbit. The tightening in my chest made itself known as the panic came back. No, Dave, it's all right. Benson's been on the warpath trying to find him, and we've seen Hyde nor, Well, that's what he told Oswin anyway. I felt sick and I doubled over in bed. That's when I realised I wasn't wearing my hoodie and patted myself down looking for what I'd found in the woods. When you blacked out, well, we couldn't leave you in the foyer. That's when something fell out of your pocket and Hoss snatched it up. Ian and Tyson put you in bed after. Seemed to have a long discussion about what had happened among themselves over it too. What had happened, part of it lingered fresh in my mind from my dream. It made me quake and whine while I sat there. Dave, what's been happening with you? I ask only because, well, the moment people realise you're awake, we all have questions for you. Like, where did you go? Why? Who was that? I wheezed, grip tightening on my chest. Sorry, I'm just worried. What if my best friend had died? What if Oswald had overdosed you with, well, sure, it's only a sodium amytal, but he also said it has some hypnotic properties. Look, did you want me to go? I can just pretend you're still asleep, but someone's going to get you out of bed at some point. He got up, shooting me a smile so fleeting it may as well never have happened. I'm glad you're alive, Dave. Hopefully you feel better soon. Roswell got up off the bed and wandered over the door, closing it behind him. I could hear him talking to someone just on the other side of the door before continuing on his way. I lay back down, sighing out. I was happy that I was alive, or at least I assumed so. Maybe I was just thankful that I was alone again. Turning over, I cuddled my pillow and tried not to think of anything. It was always the same thought process, wondering what if, and if I really should have survived. It had been twice I considered dying then and there, so was it now that my life was directly threatened I knew I didn't want to die? I sighed, quivering in bed. It wasn't, because I knew better. At some point I blacked out again, swimming in my thoughts. Had the drug really been that potent, or was I that exhausted that I couldn't tell anymore? It's almost like I was floating, sinking down into an inky black like it was an ocean meant only for me. My street came into view, just as I remembered it. There wasn't really any issue with me going outside to play growing up. I liked outside for the most part. Next door, what used to be Roswell's house was still there, although I never went inside. It's always easier to have him come inside, given how often Dad was around to make sure we stayed out of trouble. Speaking of, Tyson's house was several doors down and looked much the same after many years. Tyson had changed, but his house sure hadn't. Orlando had come over. Hoss had too, if only once. Sal was probably the only one that hadn't been over. Not there really was much to show these days. Hell, even Dean had driven by to pick me up on one of our outings, but never had the nerve to come inside. Or maybe he was just waiting for an invitation I never thought to offer. But the days of people coming over were long over. Shy of Tyson who'd come over to keep me company. I'd rather not be in the house. The living room was one place I didn't like to spend my time anymore. I hurried through it on the way to the kitchen or from the front door up to my room upstairs. Then there was my room. A comfy bed and adjoining bathroom. My desk littered with different pots of paint. Not that I use most of the colours these days. I wasn't colourblind, or at least I didn't think so. Some years ago when I noticed Mom and Dad acting different around one another, some of them just started to look the same. That didn't stop me getting things in different colours. I like colour. I kept a few special things I collected in the top drawer of my desk, or in various shades of blue, but these days they all look the same. Dad? I turned around and there he was, standing in the doorway of my bedroom looking proud of himself. Why'd you have to die? There was an answer to that question, but I asked it anyway. He couldn't answer, and said all I could see was the face he pulled when he wasn't sure of something and worried that he was letting me down. My friends might coddle me, but I paid attention to what people felt, what they did when they were sad. Maybe not as good as Hoss was at picking out how people were behaving, but I knew basic things. It was a question that was stumping me from the moment I was told. Maybe I just refused the answer in favour of just hoping Dad would end up coming home. If I wasn't broken enough, the cemetery finished me off. The only thing I can think of from that day is how Mom looked and the tightness of Ty's hand holding mine. It's funny, given until now I hadn't considered that maybe I hadn't cried then. I knew Mom didn't, so maybe without Dad I just copied what she was doing because I didn't know how to process what was happening. When I woke up, I felt different. Not better, but different. Sitting up, I swung my legs over the side of the bed and rubbed my head, rasping out another breath before pushing myself to my feet. Put on a shirt and in a daze slumped there on the floor of my room, staring at the ceiling. If I left, I'd be asked questions I didn't want to answer. Not that I was waiting long before the door opened. Dave? Oh God, what happened? Why are you on the floor? I sat up slowly, looking at him. Orlando was nice, a great friend and a lovely shade of yellow. I couldn't smell the cinnamon, so maybe I was still dreaming. He came to sit next to me on the floor, carefully moving my head around so he could look at me. Are you okay? I didn't have the heart to answer him, knowing that I couldn't say anything positive, leaving my answer as a gradual look towards the floor and a sigh. Well, I'm happy you're alive. Once again I left his comment without a reply, instead of watching him stand back up and then to the hand he offered out to me. Come on, let's head downstairs. Everyone will want to, He trailed off, slowly easing back his hand. Okay. It was all I could say. Anything more and I was afraid that I'd start coughing. If I could ask for anything it'd be water. I relished the excuse to not have to say anything and wanted to hold on to it as long as I could. Reaching out for Orlando, he offered his hand again, and I took it gingerly. It was warm and he propped me up so I was standing. Dave, He sighed out, visibly tormenting wanting to hug me and give me my space. They're waiting. Each step I took felt heavy, with Orlando standing beside me. He said nothing else, instead just lingering nearby just in case. Maybe if I fell over, maybe he was sent to ensure I arrived. I didn't know. As we got closer, I could hear the others talking among themselves. From their tone, it seemed like a serious discussion, if in hushed tones. Maybe in case I overheard them, for the most part I was processing it as white noise. Then I arrived in the dining room, causing a hush to all over the group. Everyone was here, though it seemed Oswald was lingering near the back, looking thoughtful about something. My friends, though, each wore a look of worry as I looked to each of them in turn. There was a tightness in my chest, lingering even as I crossed the floor to sit down in the chair reserved for me. I kept my eyes on the table, waiting for what was to happen. I caught Hoss patting Orlando on the shoulder and he approached, sighing out. All right, there's no easy way to say this, Dave. But what happened yesterday? Well, that's not funny. You scared the hell out of all of us. Well, we're all lucky you're still here. Remaining quiet, I opted instead to look at everyone else, finding each of them catching my eye before looking away. You make a show of going off and no one caring, then you do it again yesterday and almost die coming back. None of us know what's going on, but you've changed since we arrived. Why? Well, I know this was my idea and all, but I didn't think you grilled him so hard when you agreed, Hoss. Did you not catch the part where he almost died, Roswell? It's bad enough that phone reception's been cut off for whatever reason. I hadn't thought to check my phone, but carefully my hand went to my pocket, finding that I'd left my phone upstairs. If there was no reception anymore, how were we meant to call for help from him? Well, I don't mean anything by it, but maybe you could be a little more gentle. Oh, look at him. Now they're talking like I couldn't understand them. My eyes went to Dean and he quickly looked away again, instead looking to Hoss. Well, come on. You're going to be nicer about it, Hoss. Oh, fine. Dave, what's been going on? No one's told me anything, so I'm left here to figure this all out, but after yesterday. Why? Guess it's because it's not ours to tell. Can I just say how bullshit that is? I'm sorry, but if my friend is upset, hurting, or even dying, it sucks that I have to just sit by and watch because everyone's too something to fill me in on it. I'll drop it, Hoss. I will not. Look at him. He's sitting there in a daze, and who can blame him? He barely escapes death, gets drugged the moment he gets inside, and does anyone remember the last time he ate? Days. At least not unless he's been sneaking food when no one else is around. Right. Sal tried catching my eye, but I shied away. He was right, and even now I wasn't all that hungry. Am I going crazy as no one else nearly worried enough about this? Fine, he's sad. We'll just pick him back up. Dude, he's sad. And that's the best you can do? Ty tensed up and I tried to catch his eye. Instead, he just stared Hoss down to little effect. Well, Dave, mind explaining this? In plain view of everyone, Hoss set down the syringe and the bottle I'd found in the woods on the table. Well? Oswin marched his way down the length of the room the moment Hoss had finished talking. He moved with purpose, swiping at both and turning it over in his hand. What in the world? How did you get this? I went to explain, but couldn't find the words. It was easy to say I just found them in the woods, but the words just didn't come. It's fine. I'll go run a test on this vial, see if what's on the label matches up. Benson, if you'll give me a hand, I feel like this talk is one best had without us present. Very well, sir. Take as long as you need with your talk. The two of them left, taking with them what I'd found in the woods away. But not for everyone had a good chance to see exactly what Hoss had presented. Please tell me that wasn't fell out of Dave's pocket. But I don't understand. What? Where? Why do you have something like this? Did you go out in the woods to use it to... I looked at Dean and he was staring, shaking and scared. His eyes were locked on me. I knew why, given what I asked him almost a week ago. You didn't. Dave, talk to us. Did you try to? No, I refuse to believe it. Dave won't kill himself. Suicide. I hung my head in shame. How far does one have to go in order to have tried? Had I even tried, or just thought about it? Well, it sure looks like he tried. Why else would he try injecting himself with the disease? I don't know. Have we all just been bad friends? Hoss sighed out, running his hand through his mane. Well, this can't be our fault, at least not entirely, right? I'd like to think Dave would tell us if we did something. Right, but he hasn't, so it is all just a big misunderstanding. Maybe, but he is right here. No need to talk about him like he's not here. I may as well have not been with how the words remained lost somewhere in my head. What was there to say? What possible excuse could I have had? I closed my eyes and sighed out quietly while the others continued to talk. They weren't saying much, just bickering about why I had what I had and speculating on if I'd planned to kill myself. They were worried, panicking they were about to lose me maybe. I just wish I wasn't already lost in my own head and I could tell them I was alright. It's alright. Let go, Dave. Let them die. Let whatever happens, happen. Those words again. The first ones uttered by someone that sounded like Dad, and they were comforting. Maybe it was just the reassurance that things were okay. Maybe it was the mission that I was allowed to not be constantly on guard. The second, though. I couldn't place the voice, but it was familiar. Maybe not Dad or even Mom, but maybe more like me? I wasn't sure. I opened my eyes again, looking at the others. Tyson had Hoss by the scruff. In turn, Dean had his. They were fighting over something someone had said, I think. Roswell was holding his nose, and Orlando was rubbing his back, all the while Sal acted as a barrier between them and the other three. Sorry. All at once they stopped to stare at me. Once more my eyes went down to the table. Don't worry about it, Dave. Well, hang on, I want to know what he's sorry for. He apologised, leave him alone. We're not getting to this again. We can't help him if he doesn't let us in. Well, you can't force it. Why don't you just make it worse? I clutched my chest, feeling my heart beat faster from the stress. What can I say? What would make all of this stop? Well, unless you're going to explain what's wrong with him, then I'm going to keep pushing until I can latch onto something that'll let me help him. I looked at Tyson, pleading with him silently. I couldn't be the one to explain. If I did, it'd make it more real. You sure? He had his eyes on me, waiting for me to do something, hinting one way or the other. All it took was a nod, and he sighed out, scratching his head. Shit, I didn't think I should be the one to do this, but all right. See, the thing is... I didn't need to listen to Tyson's version of it. I could remember it all vividly in my head like it had happened only a couple of minutes ago. It was like any other normal day, really. I just didn't think it'd become as bad as it did. Dave, mind to give me a hand for a sec? But Dad, TV. Since when did TV trump your old man? I laughed, grinning broadly as I lay back on the sofa. I don't know, TV is pretty good. Dad wandered out of the kitchen to stand in the doorway leading to the lounge room. Oh, is it now? Go on, champ, please. Well, only because you said please. We both laughed and I got up off the sofa, wandering closer. I remember him throwing his arm over my shoulder as I got close enough. We wandered into the kitchen. So what did you need, Dad? I'm trying to find the takeout menus. Wait, that's all. They should be in the bottom drawer. That's what I thought. They aren't there. Huh, maybe Mom moved them? She better not have moved them. She's big enough as it is and has quite a collection going to make sure there's variety. It'd be nice if we just got to have another family meal together again. Usually just me and Ty, sometimes you, and if Mom's round it's just her and me. I know how work is for both of us. We'd love to be here, at least I know I would. After all, how would I not like spending time with my favourite son? Dad, I'm your only son. Well, I guess so. Maybe we should drop Tyson so you have some competition. Don't you dare. Again, we both laughed as we scoured the kitchen with the menus. I hadn't thought much about that statement until now. The thought of Tyson officially becoming family somehow felt right. Not there's any chance of that really happening now. What we had worked fine enough. We didn't need to share a last name for it either. So what are your plans for tonight? I'm assuming the same as usual. All got up on homework, so maybe I'll get some paper and make something. Tyson still coming over? Was he always coming over? Why do you think not over, sport? Either way, I invited him over. Got stuff to ask him anyway. What kind of stuff? What guy stuff? Great, I'm a guy, so you can tell me too. Well... I stopped looking at the menu to turn to him. He was scratching his chin and thinking it over. Maybe when you're older. Great, I'm a second older now, so do I qualify? Not yet. And now? Nope. How about now? So help me, David, I will turn this car around. Once again we broke out into a laughing fit and almost immediately I heard Dad's telltale gasp of triumph. Score one for Dad. Menus have been found. Aren't you at work tonight? Why are you looking for the menus now anyway? Well, can I buy dinner for my favourite son and his... I tilted my head, curious. Competition? Dad! Well, am I not allowed to treat you to some food if I want? That's one of the perks of being a dad, I'll have you know. I'm not going to turn down free food, but I don't know, seems kind of strange. Do you even know what I want to order? Nope, I can solve that by just getting everything I'd get. Well, if Ty's coming over, are we getting dinner for him too? Yep, I'm kind of going hungry now, can we? Of course not. Should I wander down and see if he's coming, or... You could just shoot him a message on your phone. But outside. Fine, but don't go getting hit by a car or talk to strangers or get lost or set anything on fire. That's... His house is only just down the street. Awfully suspicious you're not readily promising the police officer that you won't go causing trouble. Well, maybe I will go cause trouble. I'll put recycling in the trash and say mean words to someone. You dog. Go on, go see what Tyson's doing. I'll see you in a bit. please don't go causing trouble. I know you won't, but gotta do the dad thing. I know. Promise, Dad. Just wandering down the street, I went without shoes. It was a warm enough day and I'd walked the path down to Tyson's house enough times I could almost do it blindfolded. Like most times I went over, I had to be careful. Mostly because his dad was someone I didn't like being around. He smelt funny and was mostly just angry. As chance would have it though, Ty was just sitting outside on his front deck. Ty! His ears poked up when he noticed me. Not that it was hard to miss, but he seemed to have been distracted with his phone. Oh hey! What's going on? His phone went off and he checked it again before shoving it into his pocket. As for me, I leaned on the fence watching him. Well, apparently I'm babysitting tonight. Well hey, it's a job, right? Although who'd let you babysit? Your dad, apparently. It took a second for the comment to sink in, and I huffed as Ty got up and joined me for the walk back. Is your dad not around? I worked this morning and promptly passed out drunk after an hour of getting home. If it didn't smell so strong inside, I'd let you hang out. Tempting, but alternatively, Dad's apparently ordering us food for dinner. Oh yeah? What's he going with? Apparently what he'd order. He admitted he doesn't know what I normally want, so he's deciding for me. Dude, even you barely know what you want unless we order from that one place that only does fried chicken. Or even then, it's a pain getting you to pick what sauce packets come with it. But there's so many. There's like 6, Dave. That's so many. Remind me not to suggest you pick first on anything ever, then. I'll get a bad rating eventually. Just, I don't know, why pick when all the options are good? Dad, we're back. Oh, really? Yes. His eyes went from me to Tyson, still awkwardly standing in the doorway. Well, come in. Not need to be that nervous. Hey, David. Well, I should meet your acquaintance, Back. To you, and to you as well, Mr. Back. It took a moment, him rubbing me vigorously on the head to clear what he meant. No, bad dad joke, bad dad. I'm your best dad, I'll have you know. You're my only dad. Still counts. Ty closed the door behind him and shuffled past to stand in the middle of the living room instead of blocking the front entrance. We both watched as he then slumped down on the sofa, rubbing his face. Hey, what's the matter, bud? Something got you down? Nah, I'm fine. Well, if that ever changes, just let me know. But for now, what do my 2 favourite guys want for dinner? Ty's face lit back up, his tail thumping on the sofa. What happened to picking what you'd order? There's so many good options, I couldn't decide. God, you two are alike. Is the other one who gets to pick tonight, Tyson? What'll it be, champ? Dad handed over his neat stack of menus over at Tyson to look through while he turned to me. What do you think he's going to pick? Dunno, probably from the chicken place. The one that get all crispy and then dust it with the seasoning salt, or the one that comes from the military rooster place? I can't hear you, you know. Oh, busted. All 3 of us laughed. I missed laughing that heartily, and nothing had really got me in the mood to do so in a long time. I'll leave you guys to it. I can get something done real quick, and I'll be back to place the order for dinner before I get ready for work. Alright, I'll catch you in a bit. So, dinner. Hey, I'm still picking. Cut me some slack. He'd narrowed it down to 2, the rest sitting off to the side on the coffee table. So we're having chicken. Yeah, is there a problem with that? No, chicken is good. I like chicken. Well, good. We're getting chicken. And don't worry about the sauces. I got it covered. Oh, well, cool. Now we just wait until Dad gets back? We headed upstairs to my room and I collapsed on the bed while Ty took the chair at my desk. So, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. I didn't know you were coming over until Dad mentioned it. I'm basically always over. Why does that matter? You can play a game or something I can watch, or we'll watch a movie or something. I don't know. Is there anything you wanted to do? We could go out somewhere. Nah, I'd rather not go anywhere. Besides, we got food coming to us. There's no point. I suppose that's true. Well, how about we start with games, watch a movie while we eat, and then go from there? Well, I guess that works. Sure. Ty, what's the matter? You're normally more, I remembered struggling with how I wanted to phrase it without seeming mean. Granted, I should have known that even if I did say something mean, it would just turn it back on me. Nah, I'm just fine. Just thinking about stuff. Yeah? Cool stuff or guy stuff? Oh, so that's what Dad was talking about. Wait, he told you? I really you two need to talk about guy stuff and maybe tell me when I was older. Fuck, don't scare me like that. Well, it's not that bad, is it? I mean, you could talk to me about it too if you wanted. Or maybe when you're older. That's Dad's line. You can't pull that on me too. Well, too bad I am. Suck it up. I rolled my eyes and sat up to look at him. Well, fine. Maybe I won't tell you about my guy stuff. I don't care who you're fucking. Hey, first of all, you totally do. Second, I haven't hooked up with anyone. Yeah, that whole saving yourself shtick. You sure your buddies haven't tried playing wingman for you yet? Maybe if I asked them. Maybe we just haven't met the right guy yet, too. Well, look at your phone and tell me you've been a perv, though. Who's been a pervert? Dad leaned on the doorway to my room looking at us. You two behaving? Oh, yes, sir. Nope. Well, in that case, I'm going to borrow the one that is behaving while I order dinner. What, am I meant to just stay here? Yeah, we can't be that long, can we? Won't be long at all. Just got to get our guide chat out of the way and then we're good to go. Oh, we're doing it now? Oh, sorry, bud. Better chat about it now while we have time, given I have work. I already made you wait for it. I'm not going to feel right until you get a chance to get stuff off your chest. This sounds a lot more serious than what I thought it was going to be. Well, a little bit. It's a good chat, though. I can promise that much. Looking at Tyson, saw him nodding, if only barely. Yeah, good talk. Shouldn't take too long, so just sit tight. They wandered off back downstairs, as they're puzzled as to what they wanted to talk about. It's something they hadn't even thought to ask about to this day either. Other stuff just seemed more important. Or maybe not important, but for sure distracting. I wandered over to my desk and looked at my art supplies. Nothing really drawing me as far as working on something now, so I just pulled out a square of paper and started folding. I got into origami when Orlando had given me a beginner's set for my birthday one year. I liked how just by folding paper I was able to make stuff. There was a process, and while I wasn't great at it, I liked what I usually ended up with. The downside was it typically took a while for me to get anywhere following the instructions in the book I had. Before I knew it, a whole hour had passed with me sitting there with just a single quadrupedal, if lopsided, wolf. I wonder what's taking them so long. A lot of guys start to talk about Bucko. It is all ordered and Tyson's still downstairs. Promise these all yours now. We headed downstairs together with Dad wandering off to have a shower and get ready for work while I looked for Tyson. Tyson, where are you? There he was, sitting at the dining table with a cup of coffee, and he looked upset. Ty? He turned to look at me, flashing me a quick smile before drinking again from his cup. Hey. Sorry I didn't hear you. You doing alright? Yeah. Made you this while I waited, I guess. Oh, what's this? An origami wolf? Well, looks like you got hit by a car. Rude much? Hey, not my fault. I call it like I see it. You, talked to Dad about guy stuff for long enough. Ty looked, I'd call it sad, but it's something more than that. Worried maybe? Scared? I couldn't quite place it. Yeah. I joined him at the table and we sat the next little bit while he finished his coffee. It was kind of nice, just waiting around, taking the afternoon slowly. Eventually we'd have dinner and just be the same as any other day. Alright boys, I'm off. Ty was lazing about on the sofa while Dad walked by. They shared a mutual thumbs up before Dad went outside. Dad, wait up. He turned to me, looking much like Tyson did when I found him in the kitchen. What bothered me more, he didn't say goodbye like he normally did. Maybe just a sign as growing up. I liked seeing him off to work. I rushed up to him and hugged him around the middle. He didn't say goodbye. Oh, Dave. He put his arms around me quickly, hugging me close and pressing his nose into the top of my head. He breathed in deep and sighed out, rubbing my back. I love you, kiddo. Love you too, Dad. Have a good night at work? As he eased back, I did too. Bree lingered, holding the back of my head and pressing his forehead to mine. I will. And Dave? Yeah? Keep Tyson out of trouble. He said all he needed to say, and before I knew it, I was leaning on the mailbox watching his car pulled out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. The night went as well as it could have up to a point. Tyson and I played games, ate dinner, and then just lounged around waiting until Dad got back. Chances were that we'd be up until the early hours of the morning, but I was keen to see him again. It was late. Not nearly late enough, but the flashing red and blue lights clued me into Dad coming home. I was excited. I had to open the door to greet him home, but normally just switch the lights off before coming inside. I told myself he'd just forgotten. He was just eager to get back inside to see me again. I remember Dad's police buddy coming to the door. Something was wrong, but maybe it was just to say Dad had to stay late. Or maybe he'd forgotten something. Maybe there was some misunderstanding. But no. Hoyt told me that Dad wouldn't be coming home. Not tonight. Not ever. There was a shooting and Dad had been hit. By the time they got into the hospital, it was too late. The words stunned me in a way that I couldn't process sound, scent or colour. Tyson was there, yelling maybe when I wandered back inside in a daze. Dad was dead. My dad was dead. Never to come home again. Never to say he loved me or be there when I was upset, scared or frightened. Not ever again. I whined out, tugging at my ears. It seemed as though Tyson had finished telling his version of the story, and I stood suddenly, kicking over the chair that I'd been in. It's not fair. I knew they were staring, but I didn't care. I wanted to scream louder, but I just couldn't. Why did he have to? My knuckles went white under my fur with how hard I gripped the table when I whined again. Something inside of me was throbbing, breaking, cracking, or even shattering into pieces. Why? Why did... It was like a dam burst, and my face became wet with every tear I hadn't shed since he died. I cried, unrestrained, and it hurt. Deeper than anything else that had happened over the past few days. If there was a moment I wanted to die, it would have been then. If only for the hope that I'd be able to see him again. I want my dad. I want... Tyson pulled me quickly to him and hugged me tight. It didn't stop the crying, but gave me something to cling to, on with the point I was threatening to pull out his fur. It must have hurt, but he didn't move, instead just supporting me in this awkward hug he'd put us in. And I want my brother back. Words were caught in my chest, and I found myself breathless with how he held me. Dean was next, followed by Orlando, staying quiet but throwing their arms around us too. Then there was Hoss and Roswell, not really hugging as hard as the other two, but I could feel them near, and it was nice. It was helping. Sal was last, almost throwing his arms around everyone, and I just continued to bawl my eyes out long after I lost the strength to stand. My heart had been breaking for over a year, and now it felt like I was holding what broken pieces were left in my hands, desperately hoping someone would help me put it back together. But slowly, I started to realise that maybe I'll be okay. Maybe not right away, but maybe someday. Surrounded by the warmth of my friends, I passed out again, exhausted and drained of everything that had just happened. But at least I felt at peace. Huh? When I next opened my eyes, I was in my bedroom. I had no idea what time it was or how long I'd slept. For the first time in a few days, I had an appetite. Sitting up in bed, I noticed a piece of paper, barely folded, placed on my bedside table. I scanned the words and smiled weakly. A note from Tyson saying that when I was ready that we could talk if I wanted. The others had left notes too. Orlando and Roswell saying they'd love me. Sal and Dean expressing they'll support me in any way I needed. Then simply from Hoss was another offer to talk, but punctuated with a simple apology. Running out of my room, it seemed as though the house was quiet. Must have really been out for a while. Everything in the refrigerator looked good. I grabbed what seemed to be leftovers and shoveled it down. The moment I tasted it, I recognised Orlando's cooking and it reminded me of home. Maybe not in the literal sense, but a place of comfort far away from this place. My head was still swimming from the flood of emotions I'd been hit with earlier in the day, but for now I was doing alright. I knew that I wasn't going to get off that easy. Part of me wished I could gush about Dad to the others so they'd understand. Orlando and Roswell were there so they could possibly explain how big a deal he was to me. If not them, then Tyson. He told them his side of the story after all. But more importantly, I couldn't hide what I tried to do twice. Then what had happened with Jack. Most importantly, why I'd been messing with the vault. It made me realise that unless I leaned on it like a crutch, it wasn't all that useful. It wasn't really a time machine, but it had its uses. The main problem was putting it into words for the others to understand. Thankfully, with Oswin around, that'd make things a little easier. I barely understood it when he told me, but hearing directly from him should help. There was no reason I could think I would be as tired as I was all the time. Maybe I'd come so used to feeling this way that I never thought it could be the reason. That I'd suddenly become a morning person like Sal, or even Hoss overnight. As I yawned, I caught some movement off the side. Hoss standing in the doorway of one of the adjoining rooms. Our eyes met for a moment before he gestured me into the side room, heading on in without waiting. I took a seat on one of the sofas in the room, and Hoss sat just far away enough that I had my space on a separate chair. At first he didn't say anything, seemingly thinking over his words before he broke the silence. I didn't expect to be something that hard-hitting. I sighed out, rubbing my head. Oh, don't get me wrong, I can only imagine what it's like, but I think I understand a little. Losing someone you're that close to, it must be rough. Yeah, it is. He nodded slowly, shifting in his chair uncomfortably. But it's not all bad? Just mostly bad? Oh, what do you mean? Well, I don't know. Ty never left, especially in that first week. He's very, intent on making sure I was okay. Stuff like making sure I ate, bathed, even sat outside for a bit each day to get some sun. So I have that to be thankful for, at least. I take it from someone who, I guess, feels the same way. The fact he called you a brother gives me an idea of where his head might be. I know I'd do the same for my siblings if something happened. Maybe. I've never had a brother or sister, so Tyson's the only thing I've got that's close. Hoss nodded slowly, running his hand through his mane. When you woke up, did you read the note? Yeah, it was nice, I think. Something I wasn't used to for sure. Well, that's a plus. Oswin's been scarce since he took the syringe away, otherwise I'd be asking him if it was actually, what it said on the label. He didn't come back. Well, Benson did, but said Oswin had stuff he wanted to think over. Maybe the test didn't go so great, or maybe he's just wanting to hear it from you directly. If it wasn't so late, I'd probably go talk to him now, because I'd like to know too. So you really didn't, I shook my head and he nodded in understanding. Reaching out, he patted my shoulder, leaving his hand there for a bit. Oh, good. I mean, we still don't really know what happened, but please don't hide the serious stuff anymore. It just makes us worry about you more. Okay, Hoss? Tomorrow is going to be a little hard. Hard? How? Just something Oswin told me a while back, something that probably led to everything being a mess. With the vault. Something like that, yeah. Just don't go breaking again trying to tell us. If Oswin knows about it already, just make sure he's in the room too, alright? I nodded slowly, having had that same idea as my plan. Not that it was much of one, but having some backup on how to bring up the task he set for me seemed like the right call. Tiredness caught me again, and I yawned, rubbing my eyes. You should get back to bed. I can only imagine how exhausted you are. Yeah, I probably should. We both stood up, and I knew if I didn't get back to bed soon, I'd probably comfortably pass out the moment I found somewhere nice to lay down. Hey, I'm sorry. Not just for forcing it out of you, but also just everything. I shook my head and flashed him a quick smile. It's all right. Someone had to do it, right? Still, I'm sorry, Dave. Thanks, Hoss. See you in the morning? So as long as you don't sleep the day away again. I got up to my room and sighed out, resting back on the door as I closed it behind me. I'd barely been awake for it, but the day had been long and tiring. Wandering over to my bed, I lay down in an attempt to get some more sleep. For as tired as I was, part of me wanted to stay awake, feeling another dream like the one I'd had. Or maybe just waking up sad upon seeing my dad again. But despite my mind and my heart not wanting it to happen, my body needed the rest, and I slowly drifted off.